Today, Karlkreis is a small town in northwestern Germany, but more than 2 millennia ago, in the year 9 CE, it was the site of a fight that changed the course of human history. A battle between the Cherusci tribe and the Roman army in a clash called the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. A Germanic prince called Arminius was initially sympathetic toward Rome. He learned Latin, served in the military, and gained citizenship. But being instructed to conquer his own clan and subjugate his own kin in the name of Rome, he conspired with an alliance of tribes to launch a secret revolt. And he vanquished 3 Roman legions, killing close to 15,000 soldiers and leading the general Varus to take his own life. It was a defeat known to Rome as the Varian disaster, and it came with devastating consequences for the empire, forever ending Rome's ambition to occupy Eastern Europe. And Arminius' victory that day is the reason that to this day there remains a divide between the so-called Romance languages like Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Italian, and the Germanic languages like English, German, Yiddish, Dutch, and Afrikaans, with their different roots, grammars, and linguistic mechanics. And since that day, Arminius has been celebrated as a German hero, a warrior who stood up to Roman imperial power and defended his people. Peter Wells, the author of the book The Battle That Stopped Rome, notes how between the years of 1600 and 1900, no fewer than 76 operas hailing Arminius' triumph were written and performed all across Germany. But what Rome lost that day in that forest was more than men or mere ambition. Rome also lost a symbol of imperial power that shook the empire to its core. Each Roman legion had one soldier who was appointed to carry their banner and the emblem of their power called the Aquila, which means the eagle. And the golden eagle that led each legion was a near sacred insignia of the empire that stood for its physical strength, its military dominance, and its imperial superiority. And on that day in Teutoburg Forest, 3 Aquilas were captured, and Rome spent decades retaliating and attempting to reclaim their eagles, to no avail. And that image of an eagle, the loss of which haunted Rome for centuries to come, became a symbol of nearly every civilization since, seeking to show its dominance and project strength and splendor and power. Eagles have featured on the emblems or the coat of arms of Germany, France, England, Iceland, Poland, Panama, Prussia, Russia, Serbia, Romania, Austria, Egypt, Armenia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Mexico, Montenegro, Moldova, Ghana, Nigeria, Namibia, Libya, and last but not least, the United States of America. In 1776, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams were set the task of designing this nation's Great Seal, but they failed to reach a consensus. So it was the lawyer William Barton and the scholar of heraldry, Charles Thomson, who together suggested modeling it on the Roman eagle, writing that it was the symbol of supreme power and authority. And their sentiment was cemented by JFK in 1961 when he said, "The fierce beauty and proud independence of this great bird aptly symbolizes the strength and freedom of America." And I understand that tomorrow evening, a team of Eagles from Philadelphia will compete to win some sort of important bowl. All of which brings us to a verse that we read this morning, which contains the first appearance of the eagle in biblical literature, where it is used by God to express our ancestors' experience as they left Egypt. In the lead up to Revelation, God tells Moshe to frame the experience by reminding the nation that he brought us out of Egypt al kanfei nesharim, on the wings of eagles, va'avi etchem elai, and brought us to him. And this is our question. What does that mean? It clearly cannot be literal, as we've seen nothing in the text to suggest that our exodus from Egypt even remotely resembles the end of The Lord of the Rings, where the heroic hobbits are literally saved by the great eagles of Manwë. It remains a brilliant image, an awesome metaphor, an exquisite symbol. But what exactly does God mean for us to feel when Moshe reminds us that we received our freedom on eagle's wings. For the 16th century mystic Rav Moshe Alshich, the allegory of the eagle is simply about speed. In his words, halchu b'sha'ah kala, they moved, our people, at a high velocity. For him, in the moment that leads up to revelation of God's will, we as a nation are reminded of the rapidity of our liberty, how although the plagues took time, our departure itself was supernaturally swift. A mass of slaves without preparation or training swept across an untamed sandscape at an alarming pace. So for the Alshich, the eagle's incomparable speed is an allegory for God's supreme authority and the image of a creature hailed by Rome and saluted by every successive civilization, for us captures a component of God's unimaginable power. And there are a whole range of other commentators who point to the eagle in this idiom as a symbol of strength or confidence, daring or grandeur, devotion or splendor, all casting it, just as Varus and Armenius and Egypt and Greece did, as the United States and many others continue to do, as an image that alludes to unrivaled supremacy. But there is a radically different interpretive avenue, one that sees this allegory as profoundly revolutionary and sees the eagle as a symbol not of majesty, but malice. Almost in passing, the Chatam Sofer of Moshe Schreiber says, Nesher, the eagle, yesh lo kol arba'a simanei tum'ah shal ofot tmeim. Citing our sages from the Talmud, he says the eagle possesses all 4 marks of impurity concerning impure birds. In fact, in the middle of Leviticus, at the beginning of the list of non-edible birds, the text says, Et ela teshaktzu min ha'of. These birds you shall treat as an abomination. Lo ye'achlu, they shall not be eaten. Shiketz hem, they are abhorrent. And the first bird is Hanesher, the eagle. So for the Chatam Sofer, through the prism of biblical law, the eagle is no regal or royal or imperial symbol. It is an emblem of repugnance. And that for him is precisely why God directs Moshe to remind us in the lead up to the revelation that will bind us as a nation, to remind us of our condition before our emancipation. In the Chatam Sofer's words, God wants Moshe to remind us that Gam lahem kol simanei tum'ah kanesher, we all had signs of impurity, like an eagle. Mikol makom, but nonetheless, avi etchem alai, he brought us to him, despite the fact that we as a people were morally impure, tainted by complacency, defined by delinquency, by all objective measures undeserving of a miraculous liberty. God forced Pharaoh to give us our freedom. Slavery is so depraved, bondage is so vile, because human beings, by dint of our very nature, are bequeathed inalienable rights. We are, every single one of us, forged in the image of God and worthy of as much liberty as morality will allow. So in this single interpretive gesture, everything that every other culture celebrates is overturned and upset by the Chatam Sofer. Rome and its successors saluted the eagle as an emblem precisely because they saw its visible traits as sacred: physical speed, material strength, carnal power. They saw muscle as a signal of dominance and an object of admiration and the means to measure value. When Armenius stole the Roman eagles, it was not because he disagreed with Rome's philosophy, but because he objected to their dominion. He was not an ideological opponent, but a strategic foe. He did not seek to capsize Rome's creed, simply to beat them in battle. But we, as a people, are the heirs to a faith that not simply overcame an enemy, but countered their toxic ideology. Egypt and Greece and Rome and Persia and Germany all saw the eagle, an airborne embodiment of visible might, and idolized it. They exalted those blessed with bodily strength and mocked the physically frail as inferior. But our faith, as revealed on high, guides us to look past the visible exterior and consider the state of the soul. We are told to look for morals rather than muscles, inner restraint rather than brawn. We are told to value a person's defeat of their own desire far more deeply than an ability to kill others in war, as Solomon himself once wrote, Tov erech apayim migibor. Patience is preferable to power. Moshel berucho miloked ir, as is self-control preferable to the conquest of a city. When we see an eagle as Jews, we look past its soaring flight, massive talons, and extreme speed, and we see how it treats other creatures. We look past its dominance and see it domineering. We see its strength, but we note how it uses its strength to steal. In fact, in a letter written in 1784 to his daughter, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "For my own part, I wish the eagle had not been chosen. As the representative of our country, he is a bird of bad moral character." And when Jefferson wrote those words, and when Martin Luther King Jr. dreamt of a day when we would all be judged not by the color of our skin, but the content of our character, they were both channeling this biblical value that seeks to oppose the pernicious idea implanted deep in the human psyche that what you see is what you get. But what is equally, if not more important than the inversion of the image of the eagle, is that despite our belief that it is flawed, God reminds us that it was given its freedom. While Egypt and others hailed the eagle to depict society as exclusively led by the physically strong, we use it to depict society inclusive of even the spiritually weak. As we became a nation, these two pivotal truths were crystallized. It is the inner life that matters most, and even those who fail have inalienable rights. So let us all try to see beneath the surface and aspire to a life of moral splendor and inner strength. And let us all open our hearts to those who have not yet managed to thrive. Shabbat Shalom, and go Eagles.